Welcome to Marveled Media Podcast, where we talk about all things media, especially Marvel. I'm Blake, and I'm here with my co-host, Alec.
And welcome to episode 1 of Marvel Talk. Today we'll be discussing the Hawkeye show so far, which dropped on Disney Plus November 24th. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this.
Well, I think the first thing to start off with is just kind of give a little, obviously spoilers if you haven't seen Hawkeye episode 1 and 2. I guess just, leave a like and come back later if you want. But I guess the big thing to talk about is just kind of your overall thoughts of the first 2 episodes.
Starting off with episode 1, I think it started off pretty good, kind of showing us a different perspective of the Battle of New York back in 2012. And that was pretty much the extent of that first episode to me, honestly. It was that, and then at the very end, where things started to want to go into some kind of direction, and then it cut off. So in a way, and I think you're probably going to hit this point too, they did the best thing by dropping both episodes instead of just one, and then waiting a whole another week for episode 2. Because that first episode was kind of mid.
It kind of had like the WandaVision start. Like, just off episode 1 of WandaVision, I mean, it was like, everyone was kind of like, what is going on here? Where's this going? It was just kind of like, I mean, it had Marvel attached to the name, so we're all still invested. But I definitely think them dropping episode 2 right after, and episode 2 definitely picked up and was a lot better. I think that kind of not really saved the beginning, but just definitely made it a more interesting start. And episode 2 is definitely where we got a lot more into kind of looking at the direction of the show, especially how it ended. But yeah, I think episode 1 was a little bit besides the Battle of New York, which was interesting to see from a different view, which is what, the 3rd or 4th time we've revisited it since Avengers 1. I mean, Endgame we went back, Loki we went back, this we went back. So, I mean, we've revisited this a few times, and I think every time it's been pretty fitting. I mean, I guess you could even say in Spider-Man Homecoming.
With Toomes, yeah.
Seeing them picking up the Vulture, picking up, like, the scraps and stuff like that. Well, I wonder if we're going to somewhat see, because who were those people called that came in?
Yeah, I can't remember.
The Department of Cleanup, or it was something like that. And I wonder if we're somewhere going to have that in a way related to Hawkeye, because you have, as we saw with the auction that we saw in episode 1, was a bunch of
from the wreckage
Avengers Tower type memorabilia. So I wonder if we have someone who's a part of that is getting those goods and putting them back out on the black market for money. So I wonder if we'll somehow revisit that department again later in Hawkeye.
Yeah, I don't know. Or this could be something completely different. It could be a separate thing where, they're just during that 5 years that half the population was gone. Ronin, at the time, which is Hawkeye, he was pretty much taking care of all of the crime families, or at least the big ones, during those 5 years. Pretty much almost wiping them off. So I think that at any given moment, the stuff that actually transpired in the 3rd act of Endgame, people were just clamoring to get back to the way things were. And I think a lot of that has to do with the crime families as well. They found a good time to come back and start business back up. So I mean, my predictions are that one of those things was to go and salvage anything from the wreckage at what used to be the Avengers compound. So I think that has quite a bit to do with it, and more so the actual crime families themselves, and seeing who's going to be the big bad, because we still haven't seen the big bad yet. And I know they kind of teased a character at the very end of episode 2. Um, but I mean, we don't really know much about the character. But from what we've gathered, it seems like she's much more of a secondary antagonist rather than the main antagonist. So
Yeah, so for those who don't know, the character at the end of Hawkeye episode 2 that was kind of teased, her name's Echo. In the comics, she is deaf, and she kind of uses her other senses almost like in a way, almost like Daredevil, except instead of being blind, she's deaf. Except she usually is kind of connected more to being a bad, and like you said, not a big bad, but in a lot of comics, she works under or around Kingpin. So there's a lot of kind of speculation that Kingpin is going to show up at some point. And even probably the same actor who played Kingpin in Daredevil has been teased a lot.
Vincent D'Onofrio, yeah, and I mean he did a really good job. I don't know. I haven't asked you this question, but have you seen the Daredevil show?
I've seen some of it. I didn't watch all of it.
Okay, well, yeah, I've seen all 3 seasons, and given what I've seen, I think that if Marvel, well, if I'm saying if Marvel's smart, but we all know that the Marvel has done the impossible time and time again, and they've always seemed to hit the mark. So if rumors are true that Vincent D'Onofrio is returning for the role in a slightly different fashion, but also the same character, I feel like he's gonna do a killer job. In terms of hero shows, they're not on like Disney Plus back when all the rights were still with Fox, and Netflix still had some of the characters under their property. Given what they had and what they did with that particular show, I feel like he can definitely kill it. And given his actual character, I feel like this is not going to be a one and done kind of character. He definitely feels like a character that should be kind of reoccurring throughout the MCU going forward. Same thing with Echo. And I don't know, do you want to touch on the speculations on he does come into the show, if Charlie Cox is going to return as Daredevil in No Way Home?
Well, I mean, I think if he shows up, we have to see Matt Murdock, Daredevil, whatever you want to call, at some point soon in the MCU. I would doubt we would also see him in the Hawkeye show. I think we definitely would just see Kingpin in Hawkeye. But I know there has been a lot of thoughts that Matt Murdock may be the attorney who's, representing Peter after there's been, I guess not leaks, but, people thinking in some of the screenshots that they've taken from the trailers we've seen from No Way Home, saying like, oh, this person is Matt Murdock, all that stuff. So I think if we see Kingpin, we're going to see Daredevil very soon, and it's going to be the same actors coming back for those roles.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you completely, especially with those two. I mean, me personally, I feel like they were perfectly cast back then, and if Kevin Feige seemingly pulls it off again and does bring those two back, and then kind of changes it up, because obviously it's not going to be the exact same style of show that was back when it was on Netflix. But I feel like given Marvel and Kevin Feige's track record, I feel like they're going to do their best to put out the best content as possible. And when you bring in those two actors back as Kingpin and potentially as Matt Murdock / Daredevil, there might be a a solid week of those two names trending on Twitter nonstop. I mean, as it was when Netflix announced that Daredevil was being canceled, it was trending for like 2 weeks straight. To like save Daredevil, and knowing Marvel, they're going to swoop in there and take full advantage of that.
Well, I think the kind of reoccurring theme that we've seen so far in the 3 movies, or not movies, TV series that have came out on Disney Plus from Marvel is the big bad, if you want to call them, the main villain, has kind of been teased in the second to last episode, and then the last episode is the main one. As we saw, in I guess Agatha was probably I think that was 2 episodes or 3 episodes left when we kind of learned about her being the main bad in there.
Yeah, I think
I guess she was the main.
Yeah, I think she was like fully revealed probably like around towards the end of episode 6. So yeah, about 2-ish, maybe a little bit more than 2 episodes. But yeah, I feel like she had the most.
My thought is, I believe Hawkeye is 5 episodes. The 5th episode comes out the Wednesday before Spider-Man No Way Home comes out. Spider-Man comes out, the day after if you see it Thursday. Obviously in the UK they get it a day earlier than here in the US. But I think we could see in that episode 5, towards the end, some kind of either hint at Kingpin showing up next, or actually see Kingpin at the very last, shot of it. And then that's the end of episode 5. And then the next thing we would see is Spider-Man No Way Home, where then we see Charlie Cox show up to defend Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and, whatever legal issues he's in now that everyone knows he's Spider-Man. He may have to pay some kind of, he could be being sued for things going on, that kind of thing. And then episode 6, the finale of Hawkeye, then we get Kingpin, and that's how they kind of tie those 2 in.
Yeah, I see, a perfectly planned, timetable that the Marvel has tried to keep it at, and so far they've definitely, it hasn't been a coincidence that each show is coming out at the same, or at a certain time on a specific day, and then the amount of episodes that come out the day one, and I think it's it's obviously all carefully planned. So yeah, I think if they do decide to do that, I think episode 5 would definitely be probably the most what's the word I'm looking for? It's probably the episode that is most likely to show a big character that still hasn't been revealed yet. And then obviously, like you said, with the release of Spider-Man No Way Home, literally the day after, it feels like just the right timing. And if they pull it off, we might see episode 6, which would be the finale of Hawkeye, be watched probably the most out of any of the other episodes from any of the other shows. But it all depends on how they execute, the plan. So say they show Kingpin episode 5 at the very end, they do say, for just hypothetically speaking, they show Charlie Cox there as Matt Murdock. That gets people hyped. The movie comes out, it does well, and then the following week people are kind of clamoring to see how everything ties in together. So if done right, this might be a pretty good end to the year in terms of the content that the Marvel has dropped in 2021.
Well, while we're already kind of on the topic of big bads in Hawkeye, there's some other either people who have showed up or potentially could show up, so let's get into those. Obviously, the first one, we've already seen her in this next episode coming out. We'll see more. Echo showed up. Along with that, we have the Tracksuit Mafia with their leader, the Clown, as we've seen. So we know those ones are in. Some other ones that are possibly hinted at or could be showing up, as we've been talked about, is Kingpin. And then, what's going on with the mom and the stepdad? Are they possibly bads, or are they just... What are your thoughts on those two?
Honestly, I feel like the stepdad, can't remember his name, Jack. Yeah, Jack. He to me feels like kind of like a wild card to me. I feel like he has his own agenda, and he kind of is working for someone else, kind of separately. Whereas with the stepmom, I feel like she definitely has a little more, like, if I had to put like who is working on under who more like closely, I would say that that Kate's mom is probably, when she referred to that she knows some powerful people too. And then, given how the first episode started with them, saying that they have like this money issue or some sort of issues, even though they're like really rich people. I feel like she has a closer connection to Kingpin than probably Jack does, whereas Jack probably is more of like a side character. Kind of more of like a, I don't want to say lackey, but I feel like if I had to guess, he is probably going to be like a not even a secondary villain. I feel it's going to be like the villain that they would have to face off against, say like in episode 4 or like at the beginning of episode 5, and that gets wrapped up. And then we get the whole twist with the mom and how she is pretty much bound to the Kingpin, and that is how they've, gotten out of that potential money situation. I mean, think about it. Kate's mom is in charge of a security company that pretty much holds information. If there is anybody who would really want that, under their thumb, I feel like it would definitely be Kingpin, given his status and the character's previous incarnations. I feel like he would definitely be the one on top, kind of, keeping Kate's mom under his thumb. So whereas Jack, I feel like he's a part of a crime family, and he's obviously worked his way up, and he's just trying to get I don't know, kind of get on top, be the top dog. Whereas Kate's mom, she's pretty much already there, but there's still one person up above her, and I believe that would be Kingpin.
Well, I mean, Jack is definitely interesting.
Oh, for sure.
In terms of, we don't know what's going. There's some rumors. I don't know if it's confirmed that he's playing the character Swordsman. In the comics, Swordsman is mentored Hawkeye when he was kind of younger and learning, and is kind of, Swordsman's not really a villain, almost like an anti-hero type thing. At times he'll kind of help out the Avengers, at times he kind of does his own thing. So I'm not sure if Marvel is going that way, where let's say he trained Clint. We don't know exactly what kind of, because age-wise the actors seem to be relatively close enough that it would be kind of weird if he was, but I mean, there's obviously something going on with him.
Right. I mean, like, the only other thing I can think of is, like, if they really do want to go that route, I feel like it would be like, and I hate to do this, kind of bring in a different property, but DC and Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson wasn't that much older than Bruce was, and it felt more of like a big brother, little brother kind of relationship, where he was training him in everything that he knew, and it wasn't like a mentor and trainee kind of thing.
Well, I mean, with that, Roz also had the Fountain of Youth, so he was also hundreds of years old.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, appearance wise,
Appearance wise, right?
yeah, appearance wise, they were pretty close.
So I don't know what route. I mean, obviously you have the whole fencing incident where he kind of, at the end when Kate goes to go for his head when he's not paying attention and he blocks it, and then him offering the candy that was found in, his uncle Armad's house, but when he was killed, his obsession with swords, taking Ronin's sword. You have a lot going on with him, but like you said, I definitely would not say he's the main focus or the big bad here. But like you said, her actual mom definitely has some kind of interesting background, as she mentioned to Armand.
Mm-hmm.
In the uncle one before the whole incident with the what's it called, with the actual auction,
Mm-hmm.
saying like, oh, they both were alluding how they both had power, they knew powerful people, but the way they said it implied they knew separate powerful people.
Right.
They didn't say like, I know the same people as you. They say, I also know powerful people. So you kind of get, she knows somebody, like you said. Could she be working for someone like Kingpin, or is there some other people that are part of this? And could it somehow link back to either the power broker, the last we saw at the end of Captain America, well, I guess Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but now Captain America and the Winter Soldier, we saw at the end of that Sharon Carter is now the power broker. So could she somehow be tied to either of their sides? Or after Shang-Chi, we saw Ten Rings is now being rebuilt. Could they somehow have some kind of interest with getting their hands on Avenger tech, or Tony's tech, after the whole Avengers compound got blown up? Because the whole reason the Tracksuit Mafia was there was they were trying to get a specific watch that was from
The
Tony,
wreckage.
or from the wreckage. So we're assuming it was something of Tony's. So it's kind of who is trying to get their hands and why that specific piece.
Right. And just circling back to Jack potentially being swordsman, I feel like he definitely at some point he's pretty much going to be swordsman. I mean, given everything that has happened so far in just 2 episodes, obviously you mentioned the blocking of the fencing, incident where Kate was, literally about to stab him in the head without him looking. He just blocked it. And obviously his fascination with swords. But I feel like if I had to compare, or if I had to kind of like guess here, kind of what kind of impact he's having, and I hate to say this, but I feel like he's going to be kind of like a Crossbones kind of villain, where he's going to show up, he's going to do his thing, he's going to have somewhat of an impact, but the main story with the big villain of the show, I feel like is still going to be further down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you that he does feel way more of a Crossbones kind of here and there kind of villain. We'll see them, they'll be gone. They didn't really mean anything. We just kind of move on. They were just a part of it.
Like a temporary impasse. You know what I mean? Like a temporary block where the heroes have to kind of fight their way out of, and then that's kind of the end of that. That's kind of how I see
like
that.
Ulysses Claw would
exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of too.
Black Panther, we kind of saw he was somewhat of the bad, but halfway through the movie,
Killmonger,
he was over. That's it. We didn't focus on Claw. There was a bigger person at play.
Right. Exactly.
Earlier, you kind of mentioned that the Kate's mom and dad were talking about in New York the money issues, and then later Kate's mom alluded to she didn't come from money, and she said how Kate's dad was the one who grew up in that penthouse, so we can assume he was the one who had the money, married Kate's mom, then she got money. Due to the marriage, and that's for some reason something was going on, they were having legal issues, and who knows what happened there, but
or
his
they
whole
owed
death
some
was
money.
very, very weird how Kate and the mom were talking in the kitchen. She did her whole little hit a carrot, I think it was, and caught it in her mouth, and she was like, oh, I can be fun too. Let's play checkers, I'll go downstairs. The dad said he went downstairs. Explosion happens. All of a sudden we get mom comes up from upstairs, but we never see the dad. And we never saw the body, which is another thing that without seeing what happened there, could we potentially get that revisited where the explosion didn't kill him? The mom either used the explosion as kind of a way to see how she could get rid of him and get the money without, if he was the one who was having the financial issues from whatever, could we somehow see that the mom has a darker past than we've been told yet?
Yeah, and I feel like if I had to kind of put my best educated guess to this, right? I feel like at some point in the past, prior to them arguing, I feel like the mom potentially was trying to be proactive and find a way out of that situation. And she probably met up with some powerful people, and of those powerful people, maybe the only way for them to kind of get her out of that situation was by having her work for them, and by taking the only other person that could oppose them and her, which was the father. So if I had to guess here, and just given kind of how this show is playing out, with crime families and, obviously with the death of Armand, I would not put anything past the mom having to make a tough choice. And it was either going to be, trust a dad and potentially lose their home, lose everything, or either make a deal with some very powerful but yet very bad people. And one of those conditions was to take the father out of the picture, and then everything from there would take care of itself. And the only reason why I think that, one, because you mentioned that, the mom or the father said he's going to go downstairs to his office. We never saw a shot of his office. I could presumably, because it was all the way downstairs, and the mom also said that she was going to go downstairs too, and you never saw them again. And then after the whole funeral, we kind of pan to the future, and then all of a sudden, they're still rich somehow, some way, even with one person out, like the main money maker here out of the picture. They seemingly have no sort of monetary issues anymore. So I feel like definitely somebody has been helping her, but at the same time using her as well. And, kind of alluding back to my whole, guess or theory as to them having the access to that security company. So, yeah, that's just my theory on how those two kind of combine, and how they're gonna intertwine and then make their way down to the, I wouldn't say the finale of the show, but I feel like it's definitely going to be revealed shortly in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it would make sense whether it's Kingpin or some other organization. It would make sense. You want, a security firm, that kind of thing, and obviously they can't put themselves in that position. That would not look good for them. So it would make sense if they kind of had something over Kate's mom to be like, hey, we'll take care of your money issues. We'll give you this position. You'll run this for us. You'll be the face of this for us, but we'll be able to use that security to, we saw Kate track Clint's phone, and, you can use that security information to see where people are, and that definitely could be useful for, someone who's good or bad. So it would definitely make sense if, someone behind the scenes said, we'll give you this role. You'll have no money issues. You'll be taken care of money-wise, but don't forget you work for us. We put you in this role. So it definitely would make sense if that kind of what happened. And then along with the whole money thing, it was mentioned right before the actual, or during the bidding of Ronan, we saw the two, Jack and Armand, bidding. And the price got somewhere around like 200,000, and Jack put his paddle up to bid on it, and Armand said, "What are you doing? You don't have that kind of money." Which I thought was kind of interesting because I was under the impression that Jack was also rich, and I thought it was mentioned a couple times that Jack is also rich. So it seems kind of weird to me that his uncle would be like, "Oh, you don't have that money," because obviously $200,000 is a lot of money to most people. But if you're rich, that really doesn't sound like it's that much money. So I kind of thought that was kind of something that was, I kind of questioned what was going on there. Why was $200,000? He's like, "Oh, you don't have that money." So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts or theories on what happened with that?
Well, just given what he had, what Jack had said about Armand after the whole thing happened. I believe this was in episode 2 when Kate comes back to the security company, and they talk a little bit in the office, and then she says that I think she says my condolences, and she said, "Oh," and then he replied, "Yeah, it's a real tragedy. Me and him had a very special relationship," and I think he was alluding to something there. I don't know what exactly. Definitely that special relationship. He may have said that sarcastically for sure. That kind of also, when I sort of start these theories, I kind of try to find a way to kind of intertwine them, and so that I can just have one big theory. That's just me though, and to this I say I feel like perhaps he had done something to kind of offend the family, or kind of put some dirt on the family's name, and that's partly why he's not regarded as one of the top in that family, and that's probably why he doesn't have that kind of money, because he's still kind of like shunned for something potentially that happened, or something that he had done, maybe alluding to the whole swordsman alias, where he had mentioned in that same scene where Kate tried to stab him, that wasn't the first time that someone has tried to stab him in the head. So maybe he his family found out that he was doing some pretty messed up stuff, and they that kind of, with them learning of that, they may have kind of shunned him in a way where his status in that family dropped significantly. He doesn't get the same the same income, so his value as a person, or his total net worth, therefore is not as high as, say, like Armand, where it felt like he was definitely, if not the head of the family, pretty high up in the family. And that's probably what he was alluding to, where he had some sort of special relationship with him, kind of being sarcastic, like where he didn't really have much after said incident or whatever events transpired. That's probably why Armand had said, you don't have that kind of money. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to that's kind of like my theory. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, or if some version of that happens, because just given how crime families kind of work, if if you're a prominent member of that family and you do something that kind of puts the family name in the mud for whatever reason, everyone else in that family kind of shuns you, and then you're kind of tossed aside, and you're not as prominent as you once were. That's probably why he doesn't have that money value. That's probably why he's trying to work his way up the chain again. And one of those ways would be to kill his uncle. and then therefore inherit that money. And that's probably how he's making his way up the ladder in terms of the power chain. That's just my thoughts on it, though. What about you?
Now, my big question is when it comes to, these big crime families and potential, murder within the families, could we possibly see a Dominic Toretto appearance come in and take Jack out because you don't turn your back on family? I'm just saying, Marvel wanted to really shake things up. You don't turn your back on family. Dominic Toretto comes in, takes care of Jack. Then we just move on to the new big bad. Just saying, Kevin Feige, if you need any ideas, hit me up.
Oh my god! I mean, hey, they already have Vin Diesel on their payroll, so it wouldn't be that much of a stretch.
You can easily get him in.
Yeah,
now,
for sure.
The other kind of last villain I would say that we haven't talked about yet is at the end of Black Widow. It was teased that Val is, showed Yelena Hawkeye's picture saying this is the man. Maybe you do like a shot to kill the man who, killed your sister. What do you think kind of her role is? When might you think, she might show up? I would assume she has to show up in this show. So what kind of are your theories on when or why we'll see her show up?
That's a good question, and I haven't given much thought to it, believe it or not, even though that feels like it was the first real tease as to what this show could potentially be. But if I had to kind of shoehorn this in there, I feel like they're gonna have a showdown where potentially Clint and Kate, obviously they're going to be on the run, and they're going to have to fight through swordsmen. They're going to encounter the big bad, and right before they get there, Yelena shows up, and that's another kind of blockade before they can really face the actual big bad of the actual show. Or I mean, if they really wanna tease us, they might even just have Yelena be kind of like the final boss, and then tease Kingpin, kind of just watching, from the background. And then honestly, it all depends on how the show does in terms of viewership. Kind of like I think Loki was probably the more popular show out of the three that had been released prior. But if the show does really well, they might decide to do kind of a tease, because I mean the show was pretty much wrapped in like February, and they were still editing it up until this point. So I mean, they can do whatever they want to do. So if they so choose to kind of just tease Kingpin and have him be in a few scenes here and there, and then leave him be as like a villain, to be reckoned with in future MCU projects, and just have the final showdown be a fight, with Hawkeye and Yelena, and then Kate having to just constantly help Clint out, because by this point, given like a few shots in the trailer, it looks like both of them kind of take quite a bit of a beating. So I would not put it past them that by the time that they face Yelena, Hawkeye's going to be pretty much like done. He's going to be tired as fuck. He's going to be like bruised. He's going to be injured. He's going to be pretty much on his last leg, and he's not going to be at full strength. So that's when both of them fighting Yelena will probably come into play, and probably in typical Marvel fashion, it's going to end with probably Kate telling Yelena, or somehow, some way, Yelena finds out that that he didn't actually kill her. That in fact he tried to kill himself or just sacrifice himself to get that soul stone. But in doing so, Nat threw herself out and sacrificed herself instead. So I feel like that's going to be, if executed correctly, that might be the scene of this first season, if they do plan to do a season 2, and if not, this will probably be the scene of this season for sure.
I think one thing that could potentially kind of have it related in a way is potentially we see Echo is not working for Kingpin, instead she's working for Val, and that somehow is tied into her being a part of either, Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts or whatever you kind of want to call that anti-hero thing that's, in the comics is commonly overran by Thaddeus or Thunderbolt Ross, Thaddeus Ross, who, in the comics turns into the Red Hulk. We've seen in Shang-Chi, it was mentioned how Abomination is still a thing, and it's been, he is a thing that they kind of have control over. In She-Hulk, it's been kind of announced already that he will be showing up in She-Hulk. We'll see not only Abomination, but also Ross will be playing a part in that. So potentially maybe Echo's working for Val.
One of those two.
Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts. I think another thing that could be interesting with Echo is Marvel's already announced that Echo is getting her own spin-off show. We don't know if that's a prequel to what we're seeing now, or if this is an after. And we could potentially see something with Echo is, in the comics, she's deaf. I guess it hasn't been confirmed yet in Hawkeye show if she will be, but we've seen a common theme of Hawkeye is having hearing issues, at least on one side for sure. And, to mention that he potentially could be going so kind of deaf. So we could maybe see some kind of Echo not being a villain, and in a way her and Clint connect over that. Maybe she kind of helps him, learn how to use his other senses a little bit more, since, she potentially is deaf. We'll see how they use her in the show, and it's already been shown that Clint is going deaf, so we could potentially see something where Echo is not really a villain anymore at some point in the show. She could change and become a little bit more of like an anti-hero, or kind of go off and do her own thing. So I think that's definitely going to be something that could be interesting to see how and when we'll see Elena show up, and if she's connected to, if we get any more hints or connections to Thunderbolt Ross having his own little Dark Avengers team.
Yeah, for sure. And given that they've seemingly given her own show, and as she still retains that same name, and then we kind of see her in this room full of like speakers, and she kind of just she's feeling everything around her. I feel like she's gonna be, she's gonna retain that quality of her, where she is deaf, and she's going to, well, because she didn't actually respond to that tracksuit mafia guy. He just came in and he repeated himself because he didn't know if she actually heard him, and then she just told him to like shoo off. So
right, she just motioned him to
get out. Yeah, pretty much.
Leave.
Yeah, and then that was the final shot of episode 2. But I mean, I feel like there's, I don't know. To me personally, I feel it's a little weird that that Marvel is deciding to give her her own show, and obviously she's probably not going to have a huge talking role. So if she's going to be the main person, then what is really going to happen in that show? Now, this is where my theory comes in. And I don't know if you remember this, but back in 20, when was this? 2015. I want to say 2015 when Marvel did their presentation to kind of kind of give us the timetable of what the rest of Phase 3 at that time was going to look like. They had announced that Captain America 3 was going to be Captain America Serpent Society. And then it turned out, oh, guess what? No, it wasn't. It was actually, a cover up for what it really was, which was a Captain America Civil War. So what I think is that they're definitely going to have her be in that show, because obviously, that's kind of a given. But that might be a cover up or precursor to a potential Daredevil show that they're going to do, given
That's
her
true.
ties
That would make
to
sense for them
Daredevil. Right, and they don't want to obviously
definitely makes
say,
sense
"Oh
for
yeah,
those two to be linked.
Daredevil's getting his own show on Disney Plus." Like, oh, so then the rumors are true. So I feel like that's kind of Marvel's workaround to announce that Echo's getting her own show, without saying that. Yeah, no, this is actually going to be Daredevil show. It's just that, and she's still going to be in the show. Don't get me wrong. And she's not. They didn't just choose her for no reason. She's obviously going to be a prominent role in that show, but potentially it's not going to be her show. She's going to be probably the secondary character alongside Daredevil. I don't know. That's kind of just my theory on that. I obviously, I feel like she's still going to have that quality of hers, and given how close she is in the comics universe with Daredevil, and how their stories seemingly seem to always face off or intertwine, and then obviously given their how Daredevil has no sight and she has no hearing, I feel like they're probably going to do something where they're going to do like I hesitate to say like a buddy cop show, but they could do some sort of kind of what they're doing with Hawkeye and Clint, but with Daredevil and Echo, and really kind of I hope they kind of lean more towards a darker tone, because I feel like Daredevil and his story, alongside all the characters that are like usually associated with him, tend to always kind of play in the arena of like Hell's Kitchen in New York, and typically everything in that area seems to be more of like dirty money laundering, crime happening 24/7. So I hope they really lean more towards a like darker tone show there. But yeah, that's just kind of my theory on that. Given how Marvel likes to really keep their secrets, they might just have this be a kind of temporary name before they really announce what this is. But I could always be wrong. So what are your thoughts? Do you think this actually is going to be a Echo show, or do you think that maybe with me saying that you might think that there might be some truth to what I may be saying?
No, I mean, I definitely agree. It is a little weird to announce. The timing of the announcement was weird, to be like, oh yeah, Echo, there's an Echo show after, I don't know if it was even before or after the first two episodes came out. That just seems
I think it was before.
very weird for Marvel to announce, a character, because that kind of takes a little bit of the, excitement for her character in the show away, because, we know more than likely she's not going to be the big bad of the show, because she's getting her own show. That'd be weird if they gave, I guess Agatha is getting her own show, so we are getting, a villain, anti-hero, whatever you want to call them.
Right, but I feel like that's different though, because they had the entire show of WandaVision play out, and then it wasn't until months later where they announced, okay, yeah, we're gonna have a Agatha Harkness show.
Right, so it just seems like it does seem very weird for Marvel to be like, oh yeah, here's this character that we're just about to put in the show. They're also getting their own show. It's just the timing of that was really weird. So I am interested to see, and it definitely could be like you said, they're not telling us the whole thing.
Right.
Probably the final point I want to get to in this first episode here. What's going on with the dog?
That's the real question here.
I feel like that's the real question that needs to be talked about, because the dog just comes out of nowhere and attacks the guy as soon as he finds the watch. That just seems very weird. That comes out of nowhere to attack the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kate brings the dog back to her apartment, and it's like, oh, what do you want? Oh, you want food. Gives it food. And then when Clint shows up to her place, he's like, oh, is this your dog? She says, no, it's not mine. And then he says something about what's its name. And she said something along the lines like, oh, it doesn't have a name. It's kind of like, I forgot how she put it, but like, she put it that it didn't have like a normal name. It was like something of this something. So right. It was just kind of, I don't know. I feel like there's something going on with that dog.
Yeah, probably. I don't know too much about the dog. I know that its name typically is Lucky. He has like one missing eye, and he helps out Clint and Kate, and he's kind of like the third little member of their team. Obviously, he can't like actually do much other than like hold arrows and kind of accompany them and help them with like tracking and stuff, but. I don't know. I can't remember because I did read a issue of a Hawkeye comic that kind of loosely is being inspired by like the show is taking from that line of comics. I can't remember who or what it was when it was made, but I feel like they had a specific backstory for the dog, and I can't remember what it is. Again, I don't know, because this is Marvel, and they're kind of just taking bits and pieces of a character and kind of making it their own and applying it to to this universe. It's not going to be like a carbon copy of what was established and done before years ago in any of the comics. Obviously, they're going to take bits and pieces of the character, and then from there they kind of
mash them.
Right.
Yeah, they pull from this storyline, and kind of just they have one big one that they kind of follow loosely, and they just kind of pull elements from other ones. So yeah, they don't have a specific straight comic that they just follow.
Right. And for all we know, they might just make their own little thing. Yeah. They might just give us like a little twist for the dog. I honestly, for the life of me, I could not remember what that whole deal is with a dog in the comics. I know that he is in the comics because that kind of trio is prominent in that line. But I don't remember, and again, I don't think it really matters, because at the end of the day, Marvel's gonna do their own thing, and somehow, some way, they're gonna reveal some sort of backstory, because I feel like having the dog just show up and just be there. Seemingly at the spot where they knew that something was going to happen. I feel like that's definitely weird. He may be, his real owner is somewhere out there. I don't think he was a stray. I think it was made out to look like he is a stray. I mean, he probably did have his eye all messed up, but they probably took off like any sort of key indicators that he is a dog that is owned by a person, not just a stray off of the street. Because like you said, that just seems like too much of a coincidence that the dog happened to be right there, right before the explosion, and then he was there biting the thug's what was
ankle.
Ankle, yeah. It was biting his ankle.
Pretty much right as he said he got the watch too. It wasn't just at any point. It was after the other guys had kind of been somewhat taken out by Kate, and then he's like, "Oh look, I found the watch," and then all of a sudden this dog just goes in after his ankle. But who knows? We saw somewhat little hints of Howard the space duck. Could we be seeing, Cosmo the space dog, or
Dude, Cosmo the space
something
dog,
like that?
that's like, I feel like that's leagues ahead of this dog. I feel like this dog is just gonna be like, like a little trained, like probably gonna be like a trained military dog or some sort of plot line like that. Whereas like Cosmo the dog, he's like a telepath, and he's very prominent in the Guardian of the Galaxy comics. So we still have to wait and see what's gonna happen.
Are you
with
hinting
that.
at we're tying in DC, as we are soon getting a DC movie animated where there are dogs of the Justice League who have powers? Could we be seeing the finally
The Rock
crossover? This is Kevin Hart or Dwayne Johnson is voicing this dog, and this is the dog of some kind of DC character from that. We'll leave it at that. Who knows?
I mean,
this is the time we've all been waiting for.
If we really want to be bold with it, if we really want to be bold with it, though, I mean, we could just spit out anything. We could say that the dog is actually Mephisto. Yeah, or a Flurkin, yeah, or some sort of like alien dog, or anything. He could be literally anything. But I mean, just given the story, right, and kind of how the show is being set up, as it definitely doesn't feel like it's going to be like any sort of magical, reasoning, or any sort of cosmic reasoning. I think it's just going to be like, oh, this dog is trained, he's very smart, and someone just planted him there to do his little mission thing. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents with it.
Could be. That could. I mean, it definitely makes sense. Just the timing of everything. It definitely sounds like there was someone behind it. But well, I think that pretty much wraps up episode 1 of Marvel Talk. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like and subscribe, and be on the lookout for our next episode. That'll be dropping later on this week, probably somewhere around Thursday, right after episode 3 of Hawkeye comes out. And drop a comment down below if we missed anything, or if you have any other thoughts of where Hawkeye's going, or if we're wrong, if the dog is not in fact Mephisto. Let us know. And we will see you guys next time.
Peace.